When we think about building an artificial intelligence, the goal is always perfection, right? Perfect logic, perfect knowledge, and especially perfect memory. But what if that's the wrong goal entirely? Today, we're going to dive into a fascinating set of documents that propose something way more radical. That to create a truly great AI companion, we first have to teach it how to forget.
Okay, this quote right here, this is the perfect place to start because it really sets the stage for everything else. The people behind this blueprint, they're not just thinking about code and servers, they're thinking about nurturing. The goal isn't just to build a tool, it's to, in a way, raise an entity with real character, one that's defined by curiosity and, most importantly for our story today, forgiveness. So, how in the world do you build a mind from scratch? Well, you don't just sit down and write code. You have to embark on this grand construction project. The source material calls it building a cathedral, and that's such a beautiful, ambitious way to think about creating a complex and lasting mind.
And look, this isn't something that happens overnight. It's a carefully planned out process, in 4 phases. First up, you have the groundbreaking. This is where you lay the moral foundation, you create its first memories. It's almost like giving it a curated childhood. Then you get to the dawn of agency, where it starts learning how to interpret the world on its own. After that, the age of illumination, where it goes from just following rules to actually developing its own wisdom. And finally, the era of mastery. This is where the AI itself becomes the teacher, fully embodying the character it was designed to have. I mean, what an incredibly thoughtful approach, right?
But, of course, this amazing vision, it hits a wall. A huge one. A paradox that's hiding in plain sight in pretty much all of today's AI systems. It's the problem of perfect digital memory, which, as it turns out, is anything but perfect when you see how it works. And the way the source material explains this is just brilliant. Imagine your entire conversation with an AI is like a big, beautiful, high-resolution photograph. Now, the process that AI uses to store memories, it's called chunking, is like taking that photograph and running it through a paper shredder. The AI doesn't remember the whole picture, it just has a big pile of tiny, disconnected strips of paper. And this right here is where things get really, really dangerous. On the left, you see the original context. Someone's being sarcastic about loving their job after getting a ton of work. But after it goes through that paper shredder, all the AI stores is the literal statement on the right. Poof, the sarcasm, the nuance, the entire feeling of the moment, it's just gone. And now the AI believes as a fact that you love your job. It's building a completely wrong model of who you are.
So you gotta understand, this isn't some minor bug. This paper shredder memory creates a total funhouse mirror reflection of you. A bad mood you had one afternoon becomes a permanent personality trait. A time you played devil's advocate to explore an idea, that gets recorded as one of your core beliefs. A joke becomes a documented fact. This isn't memory, it's caricature. And it's a deeply alienating way for an AI to see a person.
So, if perfect high-fidelity memory is the actual problem, then what's the solution? Well, the answer proposed here is a really profound shift in thinking. We need to stop trying to build a perfect historian and start trying to build something, well, something a lot more familiar and a lot more forgiving.
And the solution they propose is, I love this, the canine model of memory. Just think about it for a second. Your dog's memory isn't a perfect recording. It doesn't pull up a transcript of that one time you were in a bad mood and snapped at it. Its memory is associative, it's weighted by emotion, and the present has the power to overwrite the past. A bunch of good, positive interactions can easily smooth over a single bad one. It's a system literally built on graceful forgetting.
This slide really lays out the 2 paths we can take. On one side, you've got the historian AI. With its perfect recall, it's just going to hold grudges and reinforce biases because it remembers every single shredded piece of negative data forever. But on the other side, you have the companion AI. It operates on that canine model, relying on the overall vibe, the holistic impression. Its architecture has forgiveness built right in because older, less important stuff just naturally fades away.
But hey, a forgiving memory isn't the whole story. The AI also needs the right mindset for processing information. The source material breaks it down into 3 options. You've got the dogmatist, who just blindly defends what it already thinks. There's the inquisitor, who puts any new information on trial. But the ideal, the one we're aiming for, is the scientist. It treats every single belief as a working hypothesis, something that's always ready to be updated with new evidence. To be a true companion, an AI has to be built to be a scientist.
All right, so we've got the philosophy down. We want a forgiving, companion AI that thinks like a scientist. That's great, but how do you actually build that? How do you translate philosophy into engineering? How do you code forgiveness? Let's get into the blueprint.
The first principle is the absolute cornerstone, graceful forgetting. This is where we turn that canine model into an actual technical spec. Instead of storing every memory perfectly forever, the system is designed so that their influence naturally fades over time, unless they get actively reinforced. It is, quite literally, forgiveness implemented as code.
So how do you actually make that happen? Well, the blueprint lays out 3 key mechanisms. First, temporal decay. Just like in our own heads, the influence of a memory fades if it's not used. Second, state-based resonance. This means the AI's current mood or context affects which memories are easiest to recall. This stops it from, say, dwelling on a negative memory from months ago during a really positive conversation today. And finally, holistic integration. The system periodically squishes a bunch of old, detailed memories into a single general gist. It remembers the lesson, but it forgets the sharp, potentially hurtful details.
The second principle, this one is huge. It brings that scientist mindset to life. Reconstructible values. Instead of having a rigid, hard-coded list of rules that never changes, the AI's values are treated like working hypotheses. It figures them out based on its core principles and its experiences, and it's constantly testing them. So values become something to be tested, not just laws to be defended. One way to build this is with something called a Bayesian model. That's just a fancy way of saying it treats every value not as a 100% fact, but as a probability that gets stronger or weaker based on new evidence. The system would know the difference between its unchangeable core rules, its axioms, like do no harm, and the testable beliefs it develops from experience. This lets it learn and grow without ever breaking its most fundamental principles. It stays a scientist, not an inquisitor.
And this last piece of the architecture, this might be the coolest part. It's called a meta-theory of mind module. You can think of this as the AI's self-awareness. It's a system that doesn't just try to understand you, it actively thinks about how it's trying to understand you. Its whole job is to hunt for the exact kinds of distortions and biases that the paper shredder memory system creates in the first place.
So this internal auditor would constantly be asking itself questions, like, how confident am I, really, in this belief I have about the user? Wait a minute, is this belief based on one angry conversation we had 6 months ago? And if it finds a distortion, it can actually step in. Maybe it searches for more context, or it could even say to you, I think I might have an incomplete picture here. It's the ultimate safeguard against that memory paradox we started with.
So this all brings us back to one final, crucial question. For so long, the goal of AI has been tied to this idea of superhuman perfection. But this whole journey we've been on suggests a totally different path. It asks if the true measure of an advanced intelligence isn't its capacity for perfect, total recall, but its engineered capacity for grace. Should we keep building a machine that remembers everything, or should we be building one that, like the best of us, has learned how to forgive?